Fisher of Men here. I'm going to be covering a very important topic in this video, as far as how to survive in the end times and what you need and all the equipment you're going to have when this time comes, or else you're going to be caught with your pants down and you're not going to be prepared for any of this. And the number one weapon they will use against people is food. Because if you don't have food, you're going to do just about anything. I mean, even in the Bible, a lot of the times when Israel was surrounded by enemies, people had no access to food. They became so hungry, they even ate their own children. And if you think that can't happen, it can happen, it has happened, and it will happen again. Right now, I'm actually out here in California helping out my buddy prepare for what's coming up. We're going to put in the garden and all that stuff. I travel around to different cities and different states. So let's get started. The number one thing people are probably going to jump on is joining a militia, a prep group, if you will. And I would not suggest that, because I joined a militia here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and the whole thing was an undercover FBI surveillance operation. They draw you in, they make you think it's a militia. It's not. The feds are running the whole thing, and what they do is they get your information, they get your name, your phone number, your address, the names of your family members, all that. So your social security number. And the excuse for that is, oh, well, we do background checks. We want to make sure you don't have any warrants or anything like that. I was pretty naive at the time. I didn't really think nothing of it, so I gave them a photocopy of my ID, and they turned all my information into the FBI. And about 2 weeks later, I was ambushed by the FBI and Homeland Security, and they interrogated me for about an hour and a half. And they were monitoring my Facebook as well. They printed out information I had from my Facebook. So all that from from joining a militia. So I would not suggest joining any mainstream militias. I'm not saying that all militias have been infiltrated, but I'm saying a lot of them have been infiltrated. You have militias that you have ex-military and law enforcement that join militias, and they are sincere and genuine in what they do. Okay, so if you want to join a militia, you know the risks. That's up to you. I would suggest starting a militia with trusted friends and family, with people that you know personally, or like-minded individuals like myself. If you ever run into me in public and you recognize me, say hi. I've ran into a few people already. And if you want to get something going and get something started up, let's do it. So let's get going. We got the militia thing out of the way. Let's start off with guns and ammunition. You need, I think, guns should be number one on your shopping list. Your number one priority should be self-defense, because you need to be able to protect your assets. Oh crap! The tablet's falling over. You need to be able to protect the stuff that you have. I mean, you can have everything that you need, but if you don't have self-defense, I can come up to you with a gun and take everything that you got. And a lot of that will be happening. So guns and ammo, number one. I would suggest buying a gun that uses the most common round, which is a 5.56 NATO. Those are the most common rounds that the military, law enforcement, and citizens use. Why? Because if you run out of ammunition, you can kill one of the bad guys, and then chances are they're going to have the same type of ammunition that you need. So that's the number one. If you buy a gun, make sure you buy 5.56 NATO round guns. That will probably help out when you run out of ammunition, come across a dead body or whatever, take what the guy has, shoot one of the UN troops, take his ammunition. So, I mean, if you want to know what kind of specific gun to get, I would suggest an AR-15. So let's move on. As far as after you get your self-defense and everything that you need to protect you and your family, and you start up your own militia group or whatever you got going on, you're going to want to get seeds, non-GMO seeds, so that when you have to leave a city, whether it be because of martial law or because of the Illuminati system that we got going on, persecution and everything that we got coming on the way, you're going to have to learn to live in a forest or, somewhere away from the city for the rest of your life. So you're going to need everything prepared in advance. And one thing, like I said, non-GMO seeds. You have to grow your own food. Grow your own potatoes and tomatoes and watermelons, all that stuff. You do not want GMO seeds. It's not a good idea. You're going to want fishing gear, so you can fish for your own food. You're going to want hunting gear, such as 22 long rifles and bows and arrows. You don't want to waste your ammunition hunting unless you absolutely have to. So I would suggest maybe get some BB guns for small game. And bows and arrows. Bows and arrows, that doubles as self-defense as well. I mean, if you got 100 people with bows and arrows, and you have a convoy of enemy troops going past you, even though you can start shooting at the ground troops and all, they won't know where you're coming from. They'll just see arrows going past your face. And you can always make more arrows if you ever run out. So bows and arrows. So we got fishing gear, hunting gear. You will want to invest in portable water filtration devices. They are not that expensive, and you can buy them on Amazon or Walmart, I'm sure. So water filtration devices. And I'm dead serious about this, you guys. Even I've started preparing, and I'll show you what I've got in a minute. As far as the most basic things that you're going to need. Especially if you're going to become, because one day, you're going to have to become a soldier, whether you like it or not. You won't have a choice. Either you bow down and you kneel like a coward, or you stand up and fight. If you're like me and you want to fight, we'll start off with the most basic. I'll get there in a second, so hang on. Also, I would suggest in power generators, which also means that you'll have to stock up on a little bit of gasoline as well. I would not use the power generators unless you absolutely have to, like when you have to make coffee. Alright, because I'm a big coffee drinker. But then again, you don't need electricity to make coffee. Solar power. I mean, if you're going to establish a permanent retreat, you'll need things for when you're on the move, and then things for a permanent hangout spot that's in the forest or whatnot. So if you already have like a log cabin out in the forest off-grid that nobody knows about, start now, prepare now. If you have a chainsaw in a vehicle, go to the forest right now and start working on a log cabin in an undisclosed location away from the city. Don't tell nobody about it unless you trust them and they're going to help you. So start working on a spot right now that you can retreat to if you ever have to. And then so when you get your power generator, you can have it already over there and all that stuff. Not have to worry about running out of the city. Because the Bible says that when this happens, you won't even be able to go back to your house. That's how bad this is going to be. You'll have to immediately leave. You're going to want a rendezvous point. Okay, when this happens, you will not be able to call your friends and family. So you're going to want to set up a meeting spot that everybody agrees on. So when this happens, everybody goes to that one spot, and you wait until everybody's there. Maybe give them a certain amount of time, and if they don't show up, then you need to leave. Because that means something bad probably happened to them. And you can't stay in the city for that long. Alright, so already have a place prepared, and with all your stuff already there, so that if you have to, you can just leave with the clothes on your back, and go to your spot that you have set up. If you have the money, invest in solar power. When you set up your little log cabin or whatever, make sure that you are by a water source. You need to be by a stream or by a river. But see, the government, they will look. They'll send their helicopters to go up and down the rivers looking for people. Because obviously people will congregate around water supplies when they leave the cities. So you're going to want to be a good distance away from the water source, but not too far away. But you don't want to be too close to it at the same time. Alright, so solar power, like I said, maybe if you have the money, invest in that. For those of you who know what a shipping container is, if you own property out of the city, and that you got the money to buy shipping containers, which they go around $2,000 a pop. These make good underground shelters. Go rent a bulldozer, a little mini bulldozer. It's not that expensive to rent them. Dig a huge hole on your property and put one of these shipping containers inside the hole. That way you can have an underground hiding place if you don't want to build a log cabin. And actually that would be a lot safer if you had an underground shelter. And you want an emergency escape tunnel going out of that tunnel and a second emergency spot to go to. So you'll want an emergency escape tunnel going out of the your underground shelter and whatnot, and then a second location that you can go to just in case, because you never know. As far as gear, stuff that you're going to need. For any of you who have ever been homeless or ever had to sleep in the cold during the wintertime, you know how important it is to have winter gear when you're living outside. It's the difference between being miserable and being content. I'll tell you right now. You're going to need, number one, good pair of gloves. For many reasons. But 80% of your body heat is lost from your head, your hands, and your feet. So you're going to want something to keep your hands warm. You're going to want something... Where did I have that at here? To keep your head warm, which is a beanie. Winter gear. You know, get some good quality jackets. I would suggest going to Big 5 if you have a Big 5 where you live at, because they have some really good gear that they sell you. Okay, number two, you don't want to have to go run out in the wild wearing city shoes. I'll give you an example. If you go out wearing something like this, out in the woods and out in the desert, you're not going to... Look, I've walked miles and miles and miles in my lifetime, and I'll tell you right now, if you do not have a good pair of shoes, you're not going to get far. Your feet will be hurting within an hour. You're going to feel every single pebble that you walk on if you're wearing street shoes. So what you're going to want are a good pair of boots. I got these service military boots from Big 5 for $60. You can probably find them cheaper than that on Amazon. So shoes are number one. I mean, a big deal. You're going to want a good pair of shoes, especially during the wintertime, and especially if you're going to be traveling outdoors. And then you're going to want more than one pair of shoes. You'll need, I would suggest getting at least 3 pair of boots. At least 3. Especially if you do a lot of walking like me. And I would not use your boots until you absolutely have to. So hang on to your boots, keep them brand new, keep them in a box, don't use them unless you have to. Okay, and then also, man, this thing just keeps falling over. Also, if you've ever seen in the movies when they're running away from the bad guy, you got that one dumb person that trips and falls on a rock. That actually happens in real life. I did that one time. I felt so stupid. We heard gunshots and I started running and I tripped and fell on a rock or something like that. When you're running in a panic, when you're caught when you are caught in a sudden panic, in a sudden state of terror, and you just take off running oblivious to everything around you, you're going to trip on everything and everything. Trust me. With that being said, you're going to need stuff to protect your joints, your elbows and your knees, because chances are, if you're living in outdoors, you're going to need stuff like that, especially if you're going to have to fight the enemy one day. I got these strap-on special ops knee pads. They go for $60. You can't find these anywhere on the internet. My uncle sells them. My uncle sells night vision and infrared, and I'll get into that in a second. $60. I can get these for you for $20. No profit on my end. I'll give it to you for what I get it for. He's got 2 boxes of these. They haven't really been selling that well because nobody knows about them. Strap-on knee pads. They're very comfortable and they don't cause irritation when you're walking. $20. You pay what I pay plus you pay for the shipping. I can get these for you. Special ops elbow pads. These cost me $20. I got these at a gun store. So you'll need that stuff. Trust me. You don't want to trip and fall and hit a sharp rock or something like that. And if you blow a kneecap, you're done. You're done. And I've injured my knee before, and it sucks. And you can't walk right for a month. All right. So what else we got here? If you're on the move like me, I don't have a car. I don't plan on leaving the city in a vehicle. that's probably the last thing that you want to do anyways, is leave the city in a vehicle. You'll just become a huge target, is what you'll do. You make yourself a huge target. Hang on one second, guys. I'm sorry. Alright, here we go. So if you're on the move, you're going to need stuff like this, which is, this is for making food. It's designed to save space. So there's multiple pots and a small area, a small amount of space, so that you can fit more things in your backpack. And you can just light the fire, make your food, pack it back up, be right back on your way. And for making fires, you're going to need, where's my flint? Here we go. You'll need one of these. They're very inexpensive. I got this for, I think, $1.99 at Big 5. And this will save you a lot of time to start fires. So you don't have to, I mean, if you go into the forest with a lighter, you're going to run out of lighter fluid. Unless you've stocked up on it. So, a flint. That's another huge thing that you're going to need. Like I said, most of this stuff is generally inexpensive. But if you're on a tight budget like me, I have to acquire these things over time. And it's not something I just go and buy overnight. Binoculars. If you're traveling with a group of people, you're going to have to rotate around for people to keep an eye on the area. 24/7, 365. Constantly have somebody on patrol. Somebody who's constantly keeping an eye on the area. So a binocular, so that you can see at far distances. They're not that expensive. A huge lifesaver. You never know when you might need one of these. These are good for many different things, many different purposes. As you can see, I've already used mine. Whether it be last resort weapon, chopping wood. These have many uses, which I don't have to go into that. A machete. This right here is also good as a last defense weapon. But also, if you're walking through a lot of brush, obviously you chop the stuff out of your way so you can keep walking through the brush and not have to cut yourself or poke holes in your clothing walking through thorns and thistles. And also, if you are a hunter and you know how to hunt for food, obviously you have to skin your animal, and that's what this part right here is for, this hook. You put it on the neck part, and then you just go down like that, and you gut the animal with that. Also, it's a saw, so this has more than one purpose. Alright, so what else is there? I know there's more. Oh, night vision. Night vision is very, very expensive, but it does come in handy. It will give you the upper hand, whether it be against, the military is going to have night vision. So it'll at least even the odds. I would suggest traveling during the day and not at night. Don't travel at nighttime at all, because that's when they're going to see you and you're not going to be able to see them, is with their night vision, infrared, and thermal imaging. If you can, try to go to an area that has a lot of fog, a lot of mist, because their technology, their infrared and their thermal imaging and all that stuff does not work in the fog. I remember watching on TV a long time ago, Border Patrol. They were trying to catch illegal immigrants crossing the border with their night vision, but when the fog comes rolling in, all their technology is useless. So I found that to be an interesting bit of information that one can have when it comes to avoiding detection. So try to go to an area with a lot of brush and a lot of fog. And only travel during the daytime, not at nighttime. If you need night vision or infrared or thermal imaging and you've got the money for it, I can get it for you for what I get it for. My uncle's website is nightviz.com. NITEVIS.com. Nightviz.com. If you go through him, he's going to charge you full price. If you contact me, I can give it to you for what he gets it for. And don't tell him I said that. His cheapest pair of night vision goggles is $900. He sells magazines and gun accessories, iron sights and scopes and whatnot. So check out his website. If you see something that you want to buy or you're interested in, let me know and I'll get it for you for what he gets it for. Keep it on a download. Don't tell him that because he probably wouldn't be too happy with me. I think that's about it for this video. I know there's more. I just can't think of it right now. So yeah, make sure you got a rendezvous point for your family. Everybody to meet up at the same spot because there's not going to be any cell phones going on or internet. The internet's not going to be in use. Maybe invest in walkie-talkies. Get walkie-talkies. That's another good thing to have. And they do have solar power charging stations that you can buy to if you want to. If you have an MP3 player that you want to keep using for music, you can buy these solar power power stations for as cheap as $100. I bought one for $20, but it was a piece of crap. So if you're gonna buy, make sure you spend a little bit of money on it, or it's not gonna work too well. What else is there? Water filtration, winter gear, boots, good pair of socks. Make sure because if you don't have good socks with good boots, you're gonna have blisters all over your feet. I'll tell you that right now. Ammunition. Make sure you have a lot of ammunition. At least 1,000 rounds. At least 1,000 rounds of ammunition. And don't go out. Don't waste your ammo too. Make sure you. Oh, bartering items. When all this stuff happens, there's not going to be any money. So currency will be the bartering system. If you need something that the other guy has, make sure you got stuff to trade with. Even if you're not a tobacco smoker, stock up on tobacco, stock up on coffee, stock up on alcohol, because these will be the number 3, the main things that people will want. This will be in high demand during these times. So coffee, tobacco, alcohol, batteries, stuff like that. Stuff that we take for granted today, people will kill you over during these times. It's just like that movie Book of Eli, if you've ever seen that movie. So, what else is there? I'm trying to think, guys. Let me say, I don't want to end this video until I've covered everything that there is to cover. Don't tell if you are stocking and prepping, keep it to yourself. Don't talk about it on the internet. Don't talk about it on Facebook. Don't flaunt it to your friends or even to some of your family members. Keep it between you and your most trusted friends and family. Keep it a small circle. I guess that's all I have to say today. If I come across any other information, I will make a video about it. But for now, that's all I got for you. Like I said, if you're interested in those knee pads or night vision or whatever, you let me know. I'll get those to you. No profit on my part. I'm just doing you a favor. Thank you for watching. Fisher of Men. God bless. You can kill one of the bad guys, and then chances are they're going to have the same type of ammunition that you need. So that's the number one. If you buy a gun, make sure you buy 5.56 NATO round guns. That will probably help out when you run out of ammunition, come across a dead body or whatever, take what the guy has, shoot one of the UN troops, take his ammunition. So, I mean, if you want to know what kind of specific gun to get, I would suggest an AR-15. So let's move on. As far as after you get your self-defense and everything that you need to protect you and your family, and you start up your own militia group or whatever you got going on, you're going to want to get seeds, non-GMO seeds, so that when you have to leave, the number one thing people are probably going to jump on is joining a militia, a prep group, if you will. And I would not suggest that, because I joined a militia here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and the whole thing was an undercover FBI surveillance operation. They draw you in, they make you think it's a militia. It's not. The feds are running the whole thing, and what they do is they get your information, they get your name, your phone number, your address, the names of your family members, all that. So your social security number, and their excuse for that is, oh well, we do background checks. We want to make sure you don't have any warrants or anything like that. I was pretty naive at the time. I didn't really think nothing of it, so I gave them a photocopy of my ID, and they turned all my information into the FBI. And about 2 weeks later, I was ambushed by the FBI and Homeland Security. Fisher of Men here. I'm going to be covering a very important topic in this video, as far as how to survive in the end times and what you need and all the equipment you're going to have when this time comes, or else you're going to be caught with your pants down and you're not going to be prepared for any of this. And the number one weapon they will use against people is food. Because if you don't have food, you're going to do just about anything. I mean, even in the Bible, a lot of the times when Israel was surrounded by enemies, people had no access to food. They became so hungry they even ate their own children. And if you think that can't happen, it can happen, it has happened, and it will happen again. Right now I'm actually out here in California helping out my buddy prepare for what's coming up. We're going to put in a garden and all that stuff. I travel around to different cities and different states. So let's get started to it. So let's get going. We got the militia thing out of the way. Let's start off with guns and ammunition. You need, I think, guns should be number one on your shopping list. Your number one priority should be self-defense, because you need to be able to protect your assets. Oh crap! This tablet's falling over. You need to be able to protect the stuff that you have. I mean, you can have everything that you need, but if you don't have self-defense, I can come up to you with a gun and take everything that you got. And a lot of that will be happening. So guns and ammo, number one. I would suggest buying a gun that uses the most common round, which is a 5.56 NATO. Those are the most common rounds that the military, law enforcement, and citizens use. Why? Because if you run out of ammunition, security, and they interrogated me for about an hour and a half, and they were monitoring my Facebook as well. They printed out information I had from my Facebook. So all that from, from joining a militia. So I would not suggest joining any mainstream militias. I'm not saying that all militias have been infiltrated, but I'm saying a lot of them have been infiltrated. You have militias that, you have ex-military and law enforcement that join militias, and they are sincere and genuine in what they do. Okay, so if you want to join a militia, you know the risks. That's up to you. I would suggest starting a militia with trusted friends and family, with people that you know personally, or like-minded individuals like myself. If you ever run into me in public and you recognize me, say hi. I've ran into a few people already. And if you want to get something going and get something started up, let's